The news reached Patricia Kim Soo while she was standing on the bridge of her flagship, watching enemy ships burn in the dark space around Colony 7. Her father was dead. Emperor Marcus III had been killed during peace talks with the alien, creatures that called themselves the Hegemony Coalition. Patricia felt the blood drain from her face as she read the message again. The words seemed impossible. Her father had been the strongest man she knew. He had built the Terran Republic from nothing, turning humanity from a single world species into rulers of 50 star systems. "Ma'am?" Admiral Jamin Park stepped closer, his weathered face full of concern. He had been her father's friend long before Patricia was born, and now he served as her military advisor. "What are your orders?" Patricia looked at the burning alien ships outside her window. She had just won another battle against the creatures that wanted to destroy humanity. But what did victory matter if her father was gone? "We return to Earth. Immediately," she said, her voice steady despite the storm in her heart. "All ships, maximum speed." The journey home took 3 days. During that time, Patricia learned more about what had happened. Her father had been meeting with alien diplomats on the neutral station called Haven Point. The talks were supposed to end the war that had been going on for 2 years. Instead, someone had blown up the entire station. Everyone died: her father, the alien leaders, and 300 other people. The news report said the aliens had betrayed them. They claimed the explosion was a human trick. Both sides blamed each other, and now the war would be worse than ever. When Patricia arrived at Earth, she found chaos waiting for her. The capital city of New Geneva was full of angry crowds. Some people wanted to surrender to the aliens before more humans died. Others demanded revenge for the Emperor's murder. The noble families who helped rule the Republic were fighting among themselves, each wanting to take control. Patricia walked through the halls of the Imperial Palace. The same corridors where she had played as a child. Everything looked the same, but felt different. The servants bowed deeper than usual. The guards watched her with new respect and fear. She was no longer just a princess. She was the heir to the throne. Chancellor Haye-Jin Lee was waiting for her in the throne room. The older woman had been her father's closest advisor for 20 years. She was small and thin, but her mind was sharp as a blade. "Your Highness," Chancellor Lee said, bowing. "I am sorry for your loss. But we must speak about the future." "What is the situation?" Patricia asked. "Bad," the Chancellor replied. 3 outer colonies have declared independence. They say the Republic is too weak to protect them. General Wanho Choi wants to attack the alien homeworlds immediately. Ambassador Nari Song thinks we should try to make peace again. The Senate cannot agree on anything. Patricia sat in her father's chair. Her chair now. It felt too big for her. "What do you think I should do?" Chancellor Lee's eyes were cold and calculating. "You must take the crown quickly before someone else does. The Republic needs a strong leader, not a committee of arguing politicians." "And then?" "Then you decide whether we fight or surrender. But decide fast. The aliens have given us 30 days to choose." That evening, Patricia met with her father's other advisors in the war room. General Wanho Choi was a big man with scars on his face from old battles. He slammed his fist on the table when he spoke. "We must attack now," he shouted. "Show these alien monsters that humans do not bow to anyone. Your father would have wanted revenge." Ambassador Nari Song shook her head. She was younger than the general, with kind eyes that had seen too much war. "More fighting will only get more humans killed. We should try to find peace. Maybe someone else destroyed that station. Maybe the aliens are not our real enemies." Patricia listened to them argue for hours. Everyone had opinions, but no one had good answers. Finally, she dismissed them all and went to her private office. She needed to think alone. The office still smelled like her father's pipe tobacco. His personal things were everywhere: books about history, models of old Earth sailing ships, pictures of Patricia and her brother Young Sik when they were children. She picked up one photo and stared at it. They had been so happy then. Now Young Sik was missing, somewhere in the outer colonies when the war started. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. "Enter," she called. Admiral Jamin Park stepped inside. The old man looked tired. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. "How can I?" Patricia replied. "Everyone expects me to have all the answers. But I don't know what my father would have done." Admiral sat down across from her. "Your father was a great man, but he was not perfect. He made mistakes too. The important thing is that he always tried to do what was best for humanity. But how do I know what that is?" Park was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I was with your father when he built this republic. I saw him make hard choices. The secret is that there are no good choices, only necessary ones." Patricia nodded slowly. "Tell me honestly, do you think the aliens killed him?" The Admiral's face became serious. "I have been thinking about that. The explosion was very precise. It destroyed the meeting room but left the rest of the station mostly intact. That takes skill and inside knowledge. You think someone betrayed him? I think we have enemies closer than we realize." The next morning, Patricia called a meeting of the full Senate. The great chamber was packed with representatives from all the human worlds. Some faces were friendly, others were not. She could feel the tension in the air like electricity before a storm. Patricia wore her military uniform instead of royal robes. She wanted them to see her as a soldier, not just a princess. When she spoke, her voice carried to every corner of the room. "Citizens of the Republic," she began, "my father is dead. Our worlds are under threat. Some of you want to surrender, others want to fight. I understand both feelings, but I will not let humanity bow to any alien species that thinks we are weak." Murmurs ran through the crowd. Some people nodded. Others frowned. However, Patricia continued, "I also will not send our children to die in a war we cannot win. Before we choose our path, we must know the truth about what happened at Haven Point." Senator Yunji Beck stood up. She was a political rival who had never liked Patricia's family. "And who will find this truth? You? A young woman who has spent more time fighting than learning statecraft?" Patricia met her eyes without flinching. "If necessary, yes, but I hope all of you will help me. We are stronger together than apart." The session lasted all day. In the end, the Senate voted to give Patricia emergency powers for 6 months. It was not a coronation, but it was close enough. She was now the acting leader of the Terran Republic. That night, Patricia stood on the palace balcony looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were gathering. Earth's colonies were in danger. Her brother was missing, and someone who should have been an ally had probably killed her father. But Patricia was not afraid. She was angry. And anger, she had learned in her military career, could be a powerful weapon if you used it right. Tomorrow she would begin hunting for the truth. She would find her father's killer. She would unite the human worlds. And she would show the galaxy that humanity would never surrender. The age of Empress Patricia II was about to begin. 3 weeks after taking emergency powers, Patricia stood in the command center watching red lights blink across the galaxy map. Each light showed a human world under attack. The alien hegemony had not waited for humanity's answer to their ultimatum. They were already invading. "Reports coming in from the Centauri system," called out Captain Dongwu Han from his station. He was the leader of the Terran Rangers, elite soldiers who could fight in space or on planets. His face was grim. "The aliens have landed on all 3 colonies. They're not just conquering, they're taking prisoners." Patricia felt her stomach turn cold. "Taking them where?" "Unknown. Our scouts report large transport ships heading toward the galaxy's edge." Director Tae-Young Yu stepped forward. He ran Terran intelligence and always seemed to know secrets that others did not. "We've been tracking similar ships from other attacked systems. They all go to the same region, a place our maps call the Dead Zone." "What's in the Dead Zone?" Patricia asked. "We don't know. No human ship has ever returned from there." The door to the command center opened and Admiral Jamin Park entered, his uniform wrinkled from sleeping in his office again. "The Senate is demanding answers," he said quietly to Patricia. 3 more colonies have declared independence. They say we cannot protect them. Patricia nodded. She had expected this. Fear made people do stupid things. What about our fleets? The 5th fleet is holding the line at New Dublin. The 3rd fleet is protecting the trade routes, but we're spread too thin. Another officer called out. Priority message from Dr. Sujin Kang. The main screen flickered and showed a woman in a white lab coat. Dr. Kang was Patricia's chief scientist, working on new weapons to fight the aliens. She looked excited and frightened at the same time. Your Highness, Dr. Kang said. I've been studying the alien technology we captured from destroyed ships. I've found something important. These creatures don't just want to kill us, they want to change us. Change us how? Patricia asked. They have devices that can alter human DNA, turn people into something else, something that follows their orders without question. Dr. Kang held up a small metal object that looked like a beetle. This was inside a human prisoner we rescued. It was changing his brain. The command center went quiet. Patricia felt her blood turn to ice. The aliens were not just conquering humanity. They were trying to make humans into slaves. How long does the process take? She asked. Unknown, but once it starts, we don't know how to reverse it. Patricia looked at the galaxy map again. Millions of humans were already in alien hands. How many had been changed? How many were no longer really human? Dr. Kang, she said, I want you to focus all your research on stopping this process. Find a way to protect our people. Yes, Your Highness. Patricia turned to Captain Han. I want the Rangers to organize rescue missions. Every human we save is a victory. The next few days brought more bad news. The alien fleets were bigger than anyone had expected. They used weapons that human shields could barely stop. Worse, they seemed to know exactly where humanity's weak points were. It's like they have our military plans, Admiral Park said during a private meeting with Patricia. They attack at the exact right times and places to cause maximum damage. You think we have a spy? I think we have several spies. Patricia was beginning to understand that this war was different from any humanity had fought before. The aliens were not just stronger, they were smarter. They had been planning this for a long time. That afternoon, she received a message that made her heart stop. It was from her brother Young Sik. Patricia, the message said, I know you must hate me for what I'm about to tell you. I have joined with the aliens, not as their prisoner but as their partner. They call themselves the Synthesis now. They want to help humanity become something better. Patricia watched her brother's face on the screen. He looked healthy and calm, but his eyes were different. There was something cold in them that had never been there before. The old ways of thinking are killing our species, Young Sik continued. We fight and die for planets and resources that don't matter. The Synthesis can give us peace, they can give us unity. All we have to do is stop fighting and accept their gift. The message ended with coordinates to a meeting place in neutral space. Patricia stared at the blank screen for a long time. Her brother, the person she had loved most in the world after their father, was now working with humanity's enemies. Had he been changed by alien technology? Or had he chosen this path himself? Commander Ji-Ho Lim entered the room. He had been Patricia's friend since they were children and now served as her personal bodyguard. Ma'am, the Senate is ready for your address. Patricia nodded and followed him to the great chamber. The senators were angry and afraid. Some were calling for her to step down. Others demanded immediate attacks on alien worlds. The room was full of shouting voices. Patricia walked to the podium and waited. Slowly, the noise died down. When she spoke, her voice was calm and clear. Fellow humans, she began, I know you are afraid. I am afraid too. We face an enemy that wants to destroy everything we are. They do not want to kill us quickly. They want to change us into something else, something that serves them without question. She paused, looking at faces throughout the chamber. Some of you think we should surrender. You believe that survival is more important than freedom. I understand this feeling. But I ask you, what is the point of surviving if we are no longer human? A few senators nodded. Others still looked doubtful. Others want to attack immediately, to strike back with all our strength. I understand this feeling too. But blind anger will only get more of our people killed or captured. Patricia stood straighter. I propose a third path. We will fight, but we will fight smart. We will rescue our people from alien ships. We will protect the colonies that remain loyal. And we will find a way to stop the process that turns humans into slaves. Senator Bike stood up. And how will you do all this? Our fleets are already overextended. Our colonies are falling one by one. Patricia smiled grimly. Because we have something the aliens do not understand. We have the ability to adapt, to change our tactics when the old ones fail, to unite when we face extinction. She activated a hologram that showed new ship designs. Dr. Kang has developed new weapons based on captured alien technology. Captain Han has trained special forces that can operate behind enemy lines. Director Yu has identified the alien command structures. The senators leaned forward, interested, despite their fear. We will not fight this war the way they expect us to fight it. We will be faster, smarter, and more ruthless than they can imagine, because that is what humans do when we are cornered. We become more than we were before. The vote was closer than Patricia had hoped, but she won. The Senate granted her full war powers for 1 year. She was not yet officially crowned as Empress, but she had the authority to act like one. That night, Patricia made her decision about her brother's message. She would go to the meeting, but not alone and not unprepared. If young Sik could still be saved, she would save him. If he was truly lost, she would do what she had to do. The war for humanity's future was just beginning. But Patricia was no longer the uncertain princess who had returned from the frontier. She was becoming something harder, something the galaxy had never seen before. She was becoming the leader humanity needed to survive. Patricia stood on the observation deck of her flagship as it approached the coordinates her brother had sent. 6 months had passed since she took full war powers, and the war was going badly. 17 human colonies had fallen to the aliens. Millions of people had been taken to the mysterious dead zone. And now she was about to face her greatest personal challenge. Sensors show a single ship at the meeting point, reported Fleet Admiral Mi Young Shin from the bridge. It's not like any design we've seen before, part human, part alien. Patricia nodded grimly. The synthesis ships were becoming more common. They were built by humans who had joined the aliens, using technology from both species. Each one was a reminder that some humans had chosen to betray their own kind. Any sign of weapons? Patricia asked. None that we can detect, but that doesn't mean much with their technology. Patricia touched the emergency beacon on her belt. If something went wrong, her ships would destroy the synthesis vessel immediately, even if she was still on board. Some risks were necessary when the future of humanity was at stake. The shuttle ride to the alien ship took 20 minutes. Patricia brought only Commander Ji-Ho Lim with her. He had insisted on coming, despite her orders to stay behind. If you die, who will lead the Republic? He had asked. Someone else, she had answered. But if I don't try to save my brother, I won't be able to live with myself. The inside of the synthesis ship was strange and beautiful. The walls seemed to be alive, pulsing with soft light. The corridors curved in ways that hurt to look at. Everything smelled like flowers and metal. Young Sik was waiting for them in what might have been a meeting room. Patricia's heart broke when she saw him. He still looked like her brother, but something fundamental had changed. His skin had a slight silver tint. His eyes were too bright. When he smiled, she could see that his teeth were sharp. Patricia, he said, his voice warm but different. I'm so glad you came, I wasn't sure you would. What did they do to you? She asked. They improved me, Young Sik replied. I can think faster now. I can see patterns that were invisible before. I understand things about the universe that humans were never meant to understand. Commander Lim's hand moved toward his weapon, but Patricia motioned for him to stop. And the price? She asked her brother. There is no price, only gifts. Look, Young Sik held up his hand and it began to glow. I can see the energy that flows between all living things. I can feel the thoughts of every person on this ship. We are all connected now. Connected to what? To each other. To the greater consciousness that guides the galaxy. Humanity has been alone for so long, fighting and struggling without purpose. The synthesis offers us a place in something bigger. Patricia stepped closer. Young Sick, listen to me. You're my brother. We grew up together. We used to catch fireflies in the palace gardens and make wishes on stars. Do you remember? For just a moment something flickered in young Sick's eyes, something that looked like pain. I remember, he said softly, but those memories feel like dreams now. The person who caught fireflies was small and limited. I am more than he was. You're different than you were, Patricia said. But are you better? Are you happy? Young Sick was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, happiness is a human concept. I have something greater now. Purpose. Unity. Peace. Peace? Patricia almost laughed. Your alien friends are conquering human worlds. They're kidnapping our people and changing them against their will. How is that peace? Growing pains, Young Sick said. Humanity is resisting because they don't understand. Once everyone joins the synthesis, there will be no more war, no more suffering, no more loneliness. No more choice either. Choice is overrated. Most humans make bad choices anyway. Patricia felt her heart breaking. This thing in front of her might have her brother's face and voice, but Young Sick was gone. The aliens had not just changed his body. They had stolen his soul. I came here hoping I could save you, she said. But you don't want to be saved, do you? I came here hoping I could save you, Young Sick replied. The synthesis has been watching your war. You're fighting well. Better than they expected. But you cannot win. Humanity will fall, with or without your resistance. The only question is, how many people will die first? He gestured to the walls around them. This ship could take you to meet the true leaders of the synthesis. They would be honored to speak with you. You could negotiate terms for humanity's surrender. You could ensure that the process is gentle. And if I refuse? Young Sick's expression became sad. Then you will watch everything you love burn. Your people will suffer. Your colonies will fall one by one, and in the end you will still lose. Patricia looked at her brother for a long time. Then she said, maybe. But humans have a saying, it's better to die on your feet than live on your knees. Even if it means the death of your entire species? Especially then. Young Sick nodded slowly. I hoped you would understand. But I knew. You probably wouldn't, you always were too stubborn. He pressed a button on the wall. My ship will take you back to your fleet now. This is the last time we will speak as family. Young Sick, Patricia said as they prepared to leave. If any part of my real brother is still in there, I love you, and I'm sorry for what's been done to you. For just a moment, Young Sick's face crumpled. The alien confidence disappeared and he looked like a lost child. Patricia, he started to say. Then his expression went blank again. Goodbye, sister. Back on her flagship, Patricia called an emergency meeting of her senior staff. She told them everything about the encounter, leaving out nothing. It confirms what we suspected, said Director Yu. The aliens don't just want to conquer us. They want to absorb us into their collective, make us part of their hive mind. Can the process be reversed? Asked Dr. Kang over the communication link from her laboratory. I don't think so, Patricia said quietly. The person I spoke to had my brother's memories, but it wasn't him. It was something wearing his face. Colonel Byung-ho An, who led special operations behind enemy lines, spoke up. We've been seeing more of these hybrid humans in our raids. They fight like machines, no fear, no hesitation, perfect coordination, but also no creativity or adaptability. That might be their weakness, Admiral Park observed. If they all think the same way, they can't surprise us. Patricia nodded. What's the status of our refugee operations? Fleet Admiral Shin consulted her tablet. We've evacuated 12 million people from the outer colonies, but we're running out of safe places to put them. The inner worlds are overcrowded and resources are running low. Food riots on New Geneva last week. added Chief Engineer Seong Ho Moon. People are scared and angry. Some are blaming you for not ending the war. Patricia had expected this too. In war, leaders always became targets for people's fear and frustration. What about our secret weapon project? Dr. Kang's voice became excited. We've made a breakthrough. The aliens use quantum resonance to control their hybrid servants. We think we can build devices that disrupt that connection. How long until we can test it? 2 weeks, maybe 3. Make it 1 week, Patricia ordered. We may not have longer than that. She was right. 3 days later, the aliens launched their biggest attack yet. A massive fleet appeared at the edge of human space and began moving toward Earth itself. This was not just another raid. This was an invasion designed to end the war. Patricia stood in the command center, watching the enemy ships approach. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands. More than humanity had ever faced at one time. All available fleets are moving to intercept, reported Admiral Shin. But we're outnumbered. 5-1. Sir, called out a communications officer. We're getting surrender offers from several colonies. They want to negotiate separate peace deals. Patricia closed her eyes. This was the moment she had been preparing for. The moment when humanity would either rise to greatness or fall into slavery. Send a message to all human forces, she said. Tell them that today we find out what we're really made of. Tell them that their children will either remember this day as the beginning of our greatest victory, or they won't remember anything at all. She opened her eyes and looked at the approaching enemy fleet. And tell them that Patricia Kim-Soo, daughter of Marcus, will not surrender 1 inch of human space without a fight. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The alien fleet reached the outer edge of Earth's solar system on a Tuesday morning. Patricia watched from the command bridge of her flagship as thousands of enemy ships spread out like a dark cloud between the stars. She had never seen so many vessels in one place. Final count is 3,000 alien ships, reported Fleet Admiral Shin. Our combined fleets have 800 ships. She paused. Ma'am, those are not good odds. They're the odds we have, Patricia replied. Professor Inho Zhang, what's the status of your research? The elderly scientist appeared on the main screen from his laboratory deep inside Earth's moon. His hair was wild from too little sleep and too much worry. Your Highness, we've made an incredible discovery. The reason humans resist alien mind control isn't just our psychology. It's in our DNA. Explain. We are not originally from Earth. Our species evolved on a planet that was destroyed millions of years ago. The survivors scattered across the galaxy, but most forgot their origins. Humans are the descendants of an ancient race called the Architects. General Kyung-ho, who commanded Earth's orbital defenses, looked confused. What does that have to do with the current situation? Professor Zhang's eyes lit up with excitement. The Architects built safeguards into their DNA. Protection against exactly the kind of mental domination the aliens use. We're naturally immune to their primary weapon. Patricia felt a spark of hope for the first time in weeks. Can we use this knowledge somehow? We're working on it. If we can boost the effect, we might be able to free people who have already been converted. But I need more time. Time we don't have, muttered Admiral Park. The first alien attack came 6 hours later. 100 ships broke away from the main fleet and rushed toward Mars. Patricia's third fleet moved to intercept them, but it was clearly a diversion. While the human ships were busy fighting, another alien force slipped around them and headed for Earth's moon. They're going for our research facilities, realized Captain Sunmi Kwan. She piloted an experimental ship called the Defiance that could move faster than anything else in space. Should I intercept? Do it, Patricia ordered. Buy Professor Zhang more time. The next few hours were chaos. Ships exploded across the solar system as human and alien forces crashed together. Patricia's commanders were good, but they were fighting. A desperate defensive battle against overwhelming odds. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Tech specialist Junho Ro, who had been trying to disrupt alien communications, suddenly called out from his station. Ma'am, I found something in their data streams. The aliens aren't just following orders, they're sharing thoughts in real time. Their entire fleet is connected like one giant brain. Is that good or bad for us? Patricia asked. Both. It makes them perfectly coordinated, but if we can disrupt the connection, Junho's fingers flew over his controls. I might be able to introduce errors into their network, make them confused. Do it. Junho worked frantically while the battle raged around them. Meanwhile, Captain Quan and her experimental ship were making the aliens pay for every mile they advanced. Her ship was too fast for them to catch and too well armed for them to ignore. Got it, Junho shouted. I'm sending false information into their communication network. They should start making mistakes in about 10 minutes. He was right. The alien formation began to break apart as ships received conflicting orders. Some vessels turned toward targets that weren't there. Others fired on empty space. The perfect coordination that made them so dangerous became a weakness. All ships, attack now, Patricia commanded. Hit them while they're confused. The human fleet struck like a hammer. Ships that had been struggling to survive suddenly found themselves winning. Alien vessels exploded by the dozen as their crews fought against contradictory commands. But the victory didn't last long. The aliens adapted quickly, just as Patricia had feared they would. Within an hour, they had fixed their communication problems and regrouped. They're learning from our tricks, Admiral Shin observed. Next time, they'll be ready for that kind of attack. Patricia nodded grimly. Then we'll have to think of something else. The answer came from Professor Yang's laboratory. Your Highness, he called excitedly. We've done it. We've created a device that amplifies human DNA resistance to alien control. It's like a psychic shield. How does it work? Small implants surgically placed. Anyone wearing one becomes completely immune to alien mental influence. Even people who have been converted can be freed if we act quickly enough. Patricia's heart pounded. How many can you make? With our current facilities? Maybe 1,000 per week. That's not enough. We need millions. Give me the manufacturing, facilities on Titan and Europa, and I can make millions, Professor Zhang said. But those facilities are currently under alien attack. Patricia looked at the tactical display. Both Titan and Europa were surrounded by alien ships. Getting to them would require fighting through the entire enemy fleet. Admiral Park, she said, I want you to take half our remaining ships and break through to Titan. Admiral Shin, you take the other half to Europa. I'll stay here and keep the main alien force busy. Both officers stared at her. Ma'am, Park said carefully, that would leave Earth almost defenseless. Earth is already defenseless if we can't mass-produce those immunity devices. This is our only chance. The two fleets departed within the hour. Patricia watched them disappear into the darkness, knowing she might never see them again. She was left with only 50 ships to defend humanity's homeworld against thousands of alien vessels. The aliens attacked at dawn Earth time. Wave after wave of ships poured toward the planet while Patricia's tiny fleet tried to stop them. It was like trying to stop a river with a handful of stones. But Patricia had one more trick to play. As the alien ships approached Earth's atmosphere, she activated a secret defense system that her father had built years earlier. Hidden missile bases on Earth's moon opened fire, filling space with nuclear explosions. The aliens had not expected this. Their first wave was almost completely destroyed, but they kept coming. Ma'am, called out diplomat Hei-Wan Yoon from her position at the communications console. I'm getting messages from several alien species that aren't part of the hegemony. They want to talk. Not now, Patricia said, as she watched another alien ship explode. Ma'am, they say they're enemies of the hegemony too. They want to help us fight. Patricia paused. Could it be true? Were there aliens who opposed the synthesis? Put them through, she ordered. The main screen flickered and showed a creature unlike anything Patricia had ever seen. It looked like a cross between a butterfly and a dragon, with rainbow-colored scales and 6 wings. Greetings, human leader, it said in perfect English. I am Ambassador Twilight Wing of the Free Coalition. We have been watching your species fight the synthesis. You impress us. What do you want? Patricia asked bluntly. To offer alliance. The synthesis has been conquering free species for centuries. Most surrender without fighting. But humans resist. You give other species hope. What kind of help are you offering? Ships. Weapons. Information about synthesis weaknesses. In return, we ask only that you continue fighting. Patricia looked around the command bridge. Her officers were exhausted and her ships were running out of ammunition. Earth itself was under direct attack. Can you get ships here quickly? She asked. Our fleet is already on the way. We should arrive within 6 hours. 6 hours. Patricia looked at the tactical display again. Could they hold out that long? Commander Lim, she said to her bodyguard, send a message to all human forces. Tell them help is coming. Tell them to hold the line for 6 more hours. And if they ask how, we can trust these new aliens? Patricia smiled grimly. Tell them we don't have a choice. Sometimes you have to trust your enemy's enemy. The next 6 hours were the longest of Patricia's life. Her fleet fought with everything they had, burning through ammunition and fuel at a desperate rate. Ships exploded around her as the aliens pressed their attack. Then, just as Earth's defenses were about to collapse, new ships appeared on the sensors. Hundreds of them, in designs Patricia had never seen before. The Free Coalition had arrived. This is Admiral Starweaver of the Coalition Fleet, came a voice over the communications. We stand with humanity against the synthesis. The battle turned in an instant. The alien hegemony ships, caught between human determination and coalition, technology began to retreat. For the first time since the war began, humanity was winning. Patricia slumped in her command chair, exhausted but triumphant. Earth was safe for now. But she knew this was just the beginning. The real war was yet to come. 2 months after the Battle of Earth, Patricia stood in the ruins of what had once been the capital city of the alien world Zerion Prime. Smoke still rose from the shattered buildings around her. This was humanity's first successful invasion of a hegemony homeworld, and the victory felt both sweet and terrible. Marshal Wu Jin Nam approached through the rubble, his combat armor scorched from the recent fighting. The planet is secure, Your Highness. We've liberated approximately 2 million human prisoners from the conversion facilities. Patricia nodded, but her expression remained grim. How many were too far gone to save? About half. Professor Zhang's immunity devices work, but only if we get to people within the first few months of conversion. After that, Marshal Nam shrugged sadly. Patricia looked at the alien city around her. Before the war, she might have felt sorry for the creatures who had lived here. Now, after seeing what they had done to captured humans, she felt only cold satisfaction at their defeat. What about the native population? Most fled when we arrived. The ones who stayed are asking for mercy. They claim they were forced to serve the synthesis against their will. And do you believe them? Marshal Nam was quiet for a moment. Some of them, maybe. But it's hard to tell who was a willing collaborator and who was just following orders to survive. This was the problem Patricia faced on every liberated world. The synthesis had ruled through a combination of mind control and fear. Even among the alien species, it was difficult to separate victims from perpetrators. Captain Yujin Seo materialized beside them, her stealth armor flickering as it deactivated. She commanded Patricia's deep space reconnaissance fleet and had been scouting ahead of the main invasion force. Ma'am, she reported, we've identified 3 more hegemony strongholds within striking distance. The closest has a massive prisoner camp, maybe 10 million humans. Patricia felt her heart tighten. 10 million people, waiting to be converted into mindless slaves. Every day she delayed meant more of her species would be lost forever. Prepare the fleet for immediate departure, she ordered. Ma'am, Marshal Nam said carefully. The troops are exhausted. We've been fighting non-stop for 2 months. Maybe we should consolidate our gains and… No. Patricia's voice was hard as steel. Every hour we wait is another hour the synthesis uses to convert our people. We keep pushing forward until every human is free. As they walked back toward the landing zone where Patricia's ships waited, Dr. Changmin No approached them. The scientist looked troubled, which was unusual for someone normally excited by new discoveries. "Your Highness," he said, "I need to speak with you privately. It's about the weapon project you asked me to develop." Patricia stepped away from the others. "You've finished it?" "Yes. And I wish I hadn't." Dr. No held up a small device that looked harmless enough. This contains a modified version of the synthesis conversion virus. Instead of making people obedient, it makes them not alive anymore. A biological weapon? More than that. It targets the specific neural pathways the synthesis uses for control. It would kill every converted being in the galaxy, human, alien, or hybrid. Billions of creatures would die within hours. Patricia stared at the device. Could we control who it affects? No. Once released, it would spread through the synthesis network automatically. It would kill your brother, all the converted humans, and every alien species that's been absorbed into their collective. The weight of the decision settled on Patricia's shoulders like a mountain. With this weapon, she could end the war instantly. But the cost would be the lives of billions of beings who might not have chosen their fate. "How long before the synthesis develops their own version of this weapon?" she asked. "Unknown. Maybe months, maybe years. But they will eventually create something similar." Patricia took the device and put it in her pocket. "Tell no one about this. Not even my closest advisors. What will you do with it?" "I don't know yet." The next few weeks brought a series of stunning human victories. With their new alien allies providing intelligence and support, Patricia's forces liberated world after world. The immunity devices Professor Jiang had developed meant that converted humans could be freed and returned to normal life. But the synthesis was learning too. Their remaining forces began using more desperate tactics. On the world of Kepler's Hope, they triggered a nuclear explosion that killed millions of civilians rather than let the planet be liberated. On New Carthage, they released a plague that targeted only unconverted humans. The war was becoming more brutal with each passing day. Admiral Sang-Ho Kim, Patricia's cousin who commanded the main strike fleet, brought her the latest intelligence reports. His usually cheerful face was grim with worry. "The synthesis is pulling back to their core systems," he reported. "But they're not retreating. They're preparing for something big. Our scouts report massive construction projects around their capital worlds." "Weapons?" Patricia asked. "We think so. Something that requires enormous amounts of energy. Whatever it is, they're putting everything they have into it." Intelligence Chief Da-Eun Young, who had spent months infiltrating synthesis territory, added her own analysis. "I believe they're building a device that can convert entire planets at once. Instead of capturing people one by one, they could change the atmosphere of a world and convert every living thing instantly." Patricia felt her blood turn cold. If the synthesis succeeded in building such a weapon, they could end human resistance by converting Earth itself. Billions of people would become slaves in a matter of hours. "How long do we have?" she asked. "Maybe 6 months, possibly less." Patricia made her decision. "Prepare for Operation Prometheus. We're going to attack their capital system directly." Her advisors stared at her in shock. The synthesis capital was protected by the largest fleet in the galaxy, surrounded by defensive platforms that could destroy entire battle groups. "Ma'am," Admiral Kim said carefully, "that's suicide. They have thousands of ships defending their homeworlds." "Then we'll bring more ships than they have," Patricia replied. "I want every human vessel that can fly. I want our alien allies to commit their entire fleet. And I want our most advanced weapons deployed for the first time." "Even if we win," Marshal Nam pointed out, "the casualties will be enormous. Millions of our people will die. And if we lose, billions will become slaves forever." Patricia stood up, her decision made. "Send the call to every human world, every allied species, every ship that fights for freedom. Tell them this is the final battle. Tell them that in 6 months we either win this war or lose everything we are." The response was overwhelming. Ships poured in from across the galaxy. Humans who had never seen combat volunteered for military service. Allied species committed resources they could barely spare. Even some former synthesis worlds sent ships. their populations finally free to choose their own path. But as the massive fleet assembled, Patricia carried a terrible secret in her pocket. Dr. No's biological weapon could end the war instantly, but at the cost of billions of lives. Every night she held the device and wrestled with an impossible choice. Could she commit genocide to save her species? Was there any moral difference between what the synthesis was doing and what she could do with the weapon? The night before, Operation Prometheus was scheduled to begin. Patricia stood alone in her quarters looking out at the assembled fleet. Nearly 50,000 ships from a dozen different species, all united in the cause of freedom. Commander Lim knocked on her door. "Ma'am, the final briefing is ready to begin." Patricia nodded and followed him to the command center. Tomorrow, the fate of the galaxy would be decided. Either humanity would emerge as the dominant force among the stars, or they would become just another species absorbed into the synthesis collective. As she entered the briefing room filled with her commanders and allies, Patricia made a silent promise. She would not use the biological weapon unless there was absolutely no other choice. She would find a way to win this war without becoming a monster. But if it came down to a choice between human freedom and alien lives, she knew which side she would choose. That knowledge frightened her more than any enemy fleet. The final battle was about to begin. The synthesis capital system looked like a fortress made of stars and steel. Patricia stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching thousands of enemy vessels move in perfect formation around 3 heavily defended worlds. After a year of war, she was finally here, at the heart of the alien empire that had tried to enslave humanity. "Final fleet count," reported Fleet Admiral Jinwoo Park, Admiral Park's son who had taken command after his father's death in the liberation of Kepler's Hope. 47,000 Allied ships ready for battle. And the enemy? Intelligence estimates 30,000 synthesis vessels, plus orbital defense platforms around each planet. They're outnumbered, but fighting on home ground. Patricia nodded. The numbers looked good, but she knew the real battle would be more than just ships and weapons. This war had always been about ideas: freedom versus control, independence versus unity, the right to choose versus the safety of obedience. Chancellor So-Young Lee, daughter of Patricia's old advisor, stepped forward with the latest diplomatic reports. "The Synthesis Supreme Council has sent one final offer, Your Highness. They propose dividing the galaxy. Humans can keep half their current territory if they stop interfering with synthesis expansion into other regions. And let them continue enslaving other species?" Patricia shook her head. "No. This ends today, one way or the other." The battle began with long-range missile strikes as both fleets closed the distance between them. Space lit up with explosions as thousands of weapons flew back and forth. Patricia's heart ached as she watched ships on both sides disappear in bursts of fire. But this time was different from all the previous battles. This time, humanity had allies who understood their cause. Free species who had chosen to risk everything for the right to remain free. "Breakthrough on the left flank," called out General Hyun Soo Cho, who commanded the ground forces preparing to assault the synthesis homeworlds. "The coalition fleet has opened a gap in their defenses." Patricia saw the opportunity immediately. "All strike forces pour through that gap. Target their command platforms." The next 6 hours were chaos. Ships twisted and burned in 3-dimensional battles that stretched across millions of miles. Patricia's forces slowly pushed deeper into the synthesis system, but the cost was enormous. For every enemy ship destroyed, they lost one of their own. Then came the news Patricia had been dreading. "Ma'am," reported the communications officer, "we're detecting massive energy buildups around the 3rd planet. They're activating their conversion weapon." On the main screen, Patricia could see enormous machines rising from the surface of the synthesis capital world. If those devices activated, they could convert entire fleets at once. All her ships, all her people, would become slaves of the collective in minutes. "Time until the weapon is ready?" she asked. 30 minutes, maybe less." Patricia closed her eyes and felt the weight of Dr. No's biological weapon in her pocket. This was the moment she had hoped would never come. She could use the weapon and end everything instantly, but it would mean the death of billions of beings. "Ma'am," Admiral Park said quietly, We need to make a decision. Patricia opened her eyes and looked around the bridge. Her officers were watching her with trust and fear in equal measure. They believed she would find a way to save them all. "Get me a direct line to the Synthesis Supreme Council," she ordered. The main screen flickered and showed the alien creature that led the collective. It was beautiful in an inhuman way, tall and graceful, with skin like polished silver and eyes that held the wisdom of ages. But Patricia could see the coldness beneath the beauty. "Empress Patricia," the Supreme Overlord said, "you have fought. Well, but this is the end. Surrender now and your people will be converted gently. Resist, and you will all suffer before joining us." "I have a counteroffer," Patricia replied. "Single combat, you and me. Winner takes everything." The alien's expression showed surprise for the first time. "You would stake the fate of your entire species on personal combat?" "I would. But not just physical combat, mental combat. Mind against mind, will against will. The kind of battle your people understand." The Supreme Overlord was quiet for a long moment, consulting with voices Patricia couldn't hear. Finally it spoke. "Very well. But if you lose, every human in the galaxy will join the synthesis immediately. If you win, we will consider terms. If I win, the synthesis releases all converted beings and withdraws from free space forever." "Agreed. We will meet on the neutral platform between our fleets." The platform was a small space station that had been built for diplomatic meetings. Patricia went alone, despite the protests of her officers. This was something she had to do herself. The Supreme Overlord was waiting for her in a circular chamber. Up close, it was even more alien and beautiful than on the screen. It gestured to two chairs facing each other. "The contest is simple," it explained. "We will link minds directly. Whoever can dominate the other's will becomes the victor. Are you prepared?" Patricia sat down and nodded. She thought of her father, her brother, all the humans who had died in this war. She thought of the billions of beings who deserved the right to choose their own fate. The mental link activated, and Patricia's mind exploded with alien thoughts and sensations. The Supreme Overlord's consciousness was vast and ancient, containing the memories of countless absorbed species. For a moment, she almost lost herself in the overwhelming flood of information. But then she remembered what Professor Zhang had discovered about human DNA. Humans were the descendants of the architects, the ancient race that had built safeguards. Against exactly this kind of mental domination, Patricia fought back, pushing her own will against the alien presence in her mind. She showed it memories of human achievement, art and music and literature, acts of kindness and sacrifice, the beauty of free choice and individual determination. The battle raged in a space beyond physical reality. Two different philosophies of existence clashing in pure thought. Unity versus diversity. Control versus freedom. The safety of conformity against the chaos of independence. In the end, it came down to a simple question. What made life worth living? The Supreme Overlord showed Patricia visions of perfect peace. Worlds where no one ever suffered, where every being was connected in harmony, where war and loneliness and fear were impossible. Patricia showed it something else, the imperfect, beauty of free choice, the joy of individual achievement, the love between beings who chose to care for each other rather than being programmed to do so. The alien mind recoiled from Patricia's vision. It couldn't understand how beings could prefer uncertainty to safety, struggle to peace, the risk of making wrong choices to the guarantee of making right ones. And in that moment of confusion, Patricia struck. Her will, backed by millions of years of genetic programming, overwhelmed the Supreme Overlord's consciousness. The ancient alien collapsed, its perfect confidence shattered. "I don't understand," it whispered. "How can you prefer chaos to order?" "Because chaos means we're alive," Patricia replied. "Order means we might as well be dead." The Supreme Overlord was quiet for a long moment. Then it said, "You have won. The synthesis will honor our agreement." Patricia returned to her ship to find the entire fleet waiting for her words. When she announced the victory, The celebration could be heard across the galaxy. Humans cheered on every world, in every ship, in every liberated prison camp. But Patricia felt no joy, only exhaustion. She had saved humanity, but at what cost? Millions had died in the war. Entire worlds lay in ruins. The galaxy would take generations to heal from the damage. 2 months later, Patricia stood in the great cathedral on Earth, wearing the crown of the First Galactic Empire. The ceremony was attended by representatives of dozens of species, all of them free to choose their own path for the first time in centuries. As the crown settled on her head, Patricia remembered the frightened princess who had returned from the frontier to find her father dead. That person seemed like a stranger now. The war had changed her into something harder, stronger, more ruthless than she had ever imagined she could become. But perhaps that was what leadership truly meant. Becoming whatever your people needed you to be, even if it cost you everything you once were. The crowd cheered as Empress Patricia II raised her hand in acknowledgement. She was now the ruler of the most powerful empire in galactic history. Under human leadership, dozens of species were rebuilding their civilizations, learning to be free again after centuries of servitude. But as Patricia looked out at the celebrating crowd, she thought about her brother Youngsik, who had been freed from synthesis control but remembered nothing of his time as a collaborator. She thought about all the beings who had died in the war on both sides. She thought about the choices she had made and the prices she had paid. Power, she realized, was not about getting what you wanted. It was about making the choices that no one else was strong enough to make and living with the consequences forever. The age of human dominance had begun. The galaxy was free. But Empress Patricia II knew that freedom, like power, came with a price that would have to be paid for generations to come. In the end, she had saved humanity's soul by risking her own. History would remember her as the greatest leader her species had ever produced. But late at night, when she was alone with her thoughts, Patricia sometimes wondered if